Welcome everyone to another episode of Tales from the Spinner Rack. My name is Matt, and this week our panel consists of Jay from Audio Ammunition. How's it going, Jay?
Hello, pretty good.
Good. And then Corbin, who pulls double duty for like every podcast in the world.
Oh my God. Hello. How's it going?
You can catch Corbin on Absolute Geek. You can catch him on Couch Crunchers. You can pretty much catch him everywhere. Your mom's bedroom. Who knows? Where Corbin goes is an exciting place.
You're a jerk. I cannot believe you just said that.
Corbin gets around. That's what I'm trying to say.
I get around?
I can't wait to have you as my dad, Corbin.
Oh. I'm done with you guys. I'm leaving before the show started. Corbin out.
But yes, it is that time of week again. It's time for another episode of Tales from the Spinner Rack, our weekly collaborative comic book review podcast, where we review all the newest books that came out last week and tell you what we're looking forward to that's coming out in your comic book stores tomorrow. So who wants to go ahead and let's just jump right in? Who wants to kick us off this week with something special they got and they want to review? I did Jay last week. I kind of feel like I should hold Corbin's feet to the fire this week.
Oh my God. Okay, I mean, let's go. I will address three at one time. Not really sure. I don't want to go into each individual book, but I am following DC's You Are the Villain. At least certain story elements of that tie-in. So I picked up Scarab, number one, or you
Scarab? Is it
Scarab? I've never read.
I think it's
Scarab. You had it right the first time. It's the first time I picked up this book, so there you go with that. Also, Supergirl, the Year of the Infected one, and then the Batman Who Laughs, Batman Superman, Year of Infected, and each one actually kind of ties into the other, so it's interesting. It's also pretty self-explanatory. The Batman Who Laughs been infecting these.
Well, those actually lead into a big first appearance that comes out tomorrow, I believe.
Really? You want to elaborate on that?
Well, I don't want to ruin it for people.
Okay, well then I guess there's the elaboration.
All I can say is read Supergirl.
Oh yeah, I just did. I just finished it. Well, that's one of them. You read for tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, I mean, each one, the main setting is pretty much at the Fortress of Solitude. Batman and Superman are there. Supergirl is also there, unbeknownst to them. They kind of have this big meetup where Supergirl gets infected. But the heroes that are currently infected by the Batman Who Laughs are Blue Beetle, Donna Troy, Jim Gordon, Shazam, Hawkman, and now Supergirl, which happens when Donna Troy tries to throw, or not Donna Troy, it was Jim Gordon. One of the infected superheroes tries to take out Superman with, I guess, like a batarang that's designed to pierce his Kryptonian skin. Supergirl intercepts it, catches it, kind of keeps that moving along, but in the process, she becomes infected. And it's really interesting how the three comics bounced off each other. You said a Scarab?
Scarab.
I'm going to keep saying Scarab. Scarab it was just Blue Beetle becoming infected and really acting in ways that he doesn't. A lot more brash, a lot more confident using his powers in front of people. He had a couple of friends who were trailing him going, hey, what are you doing? He missed the bus for school. He's like, you know what? I'm Blue Beetle. I don't got to worry about making a bus. I'll just fly and meet you guys at the school.
Wait, he had a couple friends doing what to him?
Following him. Like, I haven't read any previous trailing him, following. I'm saying, come on.
No. I heard something else. I was like, wait.
Oh, my bad. No. So, I mean, his he ends up becoming more and more beast, more bug, I guess, than person through his evolution metamorphosis that he's kind of had brought upon him by the Batman Who Laughs. And it all culminates in a big showdown against, I'm trying to remember this villain's name here. One second, there's extra noise in the back here. 1 minute. Ghostfire. That's what it was. So he ends up basically, I mean, from what the comic seems like he literally starts eating Ghostfire, and against his will, because he's just turning into this huge kind of monster. And I'm not really sure. Again, I have to read more of the Year of the Villain. I've been off and on and really just been reading primarily the Batman titles. I picked up the Supergirl and the name I can't pronounce on a whim, just because I wanted to see how that tied in. And I guess this is the danger of that, because sometimes you are a little disjointed. The Batman, Superman, and Supergirl one totally tied in, and there was enough from Scarab to make it all match. but at the same time, I do not know the Batman Who Laughs' ultimate motivations, and how it ties into, aside from him, infecting all of the DC superheroes, which I guess that would appear to be the case.
Hey, look, you got it right this time.
Scarab, there you go. It was
Nailed it.
fifth time's a charm,
Nailed it.
It had to happen. So that was good. Ultimately, I give all the stories. I mean, they just felt like bit pieces moving together to set apart a bigger story. It wasn't quite those filler waste of issues kind of deals, but it wasn't anything more than that either. Each kind of fit each other, and I guess it all formed a chapter that will have to wait till the next entry for each book to kind of continue that story. So I'd like to grade them all together. I would give it all 3 out of 5. It was solid. It wasn't anything more than that. I like the artwork. I guess I do have to credit the creative teams here. So for Batman, Superman, number 4.
We're kind of losing you, Corbin. Corbin seems to be having some internet issues. It froze on a beautiful.
They're now still out.
A beautiful picture of him.
Aren't they all?
He looks like he's trying to take a call for AT&T right now.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So you're back. So the gist of it was, first of all, I got to applaud you on your miraculous ability to review 3 books in one review. First of all, hats off to you.
That was talent.
I'd give you a round of applause if I could. But from what I'm getting from the gist of it is that each one of those books, the Supergirl, Scarab, and the other one is 3 out of 5 for each, right? That's a creepy photo. It just froze on him.
Yep.
If you guys can see it, but yeah. So 3 out of 5.
So it was pretty good.
You're Corbin. Why don't you go ahead and drop out and try to come back in?
Yep, and
Yeah, he's kind of sounded like a Cylon.
Yeah, I apologize for the technical difficulties on Corbin there. We'll get that fixed as soon as we can. But Jay, why don't we go ahead and kick it off with you with your first review of the night?
Okay, so I think I'm gonna talk about Nightwing, number 66, which, like I said before, it hasn't been the most fun ride lately with Nightwing. So in case, have you ever read Nightwing lately? Have you?
I have not read Nightwing since he decided to become Rick Grayson.
Okay, so you know that there's 3 like do-gooders that found his his uniforms underground.
Nope.
And okay, so
the last thing I read is when he got shot. I believe he gets shot in the head, and he becomes Rick Grayson, and he gets like the Nightwing scar on the side of his head.
Yeah. So KGB shot him, but so in his absence, these 3 civilian. Well, I guess they're not civilians. There was like a cop, a firefighter, or 2 cops and a firefighter. They decided to all wear Nightwing costumes, and they all have different era Nightwing costumes. So yeah, it hasn't been exactly that great, but a couple issues ago, Talon showed up wanting to recruit Dick to the Court of Owls, and it seemed like a really good
this old gem again.
Yeah,
recruiting Dick to the Court of Owls.
Yeah, so Talon shows up, and he basically he's using Dick Grayson's memory loss to his advantage, and he captured him, and he put this device on him that is basically like taking his old memories and manipulating them so that it makes it seem like Talon was the guy that like trained him and raised him and was his mentor instead of Bruce Wayne. And so far it's kind of working. And he pretty much has Dick Grayson under his control, thinking that, he's an assassin for the Court of Owls. So his first mission was to kill the other Nightwings, which that's where like the issue ended. which would be really, really great if he did. I hate to say. It'd be fantastic. If he killed at least 2, I'd be really happy. 1, I'd be pleased. But so that's where it ended, where he was about to, stick a knife into all of them. So, and then a pretty good cliffhanger. And art. So Dan Jurgens is the writer, and the artist, Ronan Cliquet, something like that. I'm not all that familiar with any more of the stuff that he does, but art's pretty decent. And since Talon showed up, I feel like the story has kind of, at least for me, been a little bit better, a little bit more engaging. So I will give Nightwing number 66 2.5 out of 5. If he would have killed one of the other Nightwings, it would have been a 3.
So you did a Corbin.
2.5 out of 5, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty average, but at least it's not below average like it has been. It's been up. It used to be a solid 1.5.
Wow.
2 maybe, but it's getting better.
And you call yourself a Nightwing fan?
Hey, I don't make any apologies. I call him like I see him. Okay, that crap story is a crap story. I don't care who it is.
Hey, you get no slack. Get no gaff from me. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start off with a book that I picked up on a whim this week. It's from Maria Lovett. It is from Boom Studios, Heartbeat #1.
Yeah.
It's actually this comic originally came out. It was originally written in Spanish, so they've now translated it to English. Boom Studios picked it up and translated it to English and brought the first issue over.
Oh wow!
The story is about a young woman who is poor, and she is attending a high class high school of sorts. She's kind of an outcast and an outsider, and she doesn't have a lot of friends, and people kind of look down upon her. And the only reason she's able to attend this school is because her mother is actually like a caregiver for a rich family in town. So because her mother holds that position, she can kind of go to that school, and her mother's a workaholic. And it kind of the first issue kind of centers around her talking about how she's an outsider and how she feels alone and like has all these strange feelings when she comes upon a boy that she has a crush on. And you kind of see their interaction, and he kind of picks up a bird, and then she goes on a little bit more that she kind of runs into another popular girl that gives her some gaff for being poor, and that old story kind of makes fun of her for being poor. So at the end of the book, she goes into a classroom, and she opens the door to find that the guy that she has a crush on has killed the girl that was giving her issues. He was sitting there on the ground with her in his arms, her heart ripped out, and he was drinking her blood. Come to find out, he's not a vampire. He just really likes the taste of blood. So apparently, with my research after reading this, because I was like, look, this story's crazy. It's all over the place. The artwork in it is beautiful. I got to find out more about it. And then that's how I come to find out that it was originally written in Spanish, and they've just now translated it to English. And when Boom picked it up, apparently moving forward, it dives into like he knows that she saw him. Like she saw him basically with her dead body. He knows she saw him, and they kind of start a relationship together, and it kind of fuels around this group of people, and their relationship is kind of the driving force behind it with his lust to drink blood. It's really interesting. If you're into horror and you're looking for something odd and different, I would definitely recommend checking out Heartbeat #1. I would probably give it a solid 3.5 out of 5.
Nice.
Okay.
It was different. Like it was. I picked it up on a whim. It was different. It's not like anything else that's out, because I was like this dude's a vampire. Well, no, it turns out he's not a vampire. He just likes the taste and the metal taste of blood. So he kills people to drink their blood just because he likes the taste of it, and he'll kill to get it. So yeah, I thought it was interesting. It was, like I said, if you want a horror story or you're looking for something out of the norm, out of the superhero realm, I would definitely recommend picking up at least issue 1 or 2 of Heartbeat #1 just to check it out.
Cool. Good palate cleanser then, huh?
Yes, definitely.
Cool.
It definitely filled my lust for Walking Dead since that book has ended. So it's definitely like that weird horror off the realm non-superhero book that I just, like I said, picked up on a whim. So it was pretty cool.
Cool.
Like it.
What you got, Corbin?
Hate to crack open this one so soon. I've been looking at it, trying to figure out if I wanted to talk about it right now, but let's just get to it. I got Batman 83, Tom King's run. This story was essentially like a goodbye to Alfred. That came 6 to 7 issues too late, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. I think that I guess I just have to kind of go into it. That's really the entire story.
Was it a goodbye to Alfred though, or was it a goodbye to Bruce Wayne from Alfred?
I want to say it was two things. It was a goodbye to Bruce Wayne from Alfred. It was also a goodbye as far as Tom King could write it, because we know there's going to be a Pennyworth story coming out in February, or a trade paperback or something, and that will not have King attached to it. So I think this King's version of saying goodbye to the character that he kind of just killed. So I that's what I think it is.
And that's where he dies.
Huh?
And you just froze.
Oh, I did. Wow. I'm not sure what's going on over here. Anyway, yeah, that's where he died. Exactly. I think it's an odd filler issue, only because you only have 2 more issues left on the run. So yeah. I kind of feel like that's something that you would, have done a couple issues ago to continue the story moving forward. You have a final clash with Bruce Wayne and Thomas Wayne, who I guess is really the whole antagonist of this whole City of Bane storyline, which is another it boggles my mind how that's even possible with a story that's called City of Bane. But that's another story for another time. And I found some things troubling about this, I will say. First, Alfred was describing, saying goodbye to Bruce, but the way that he's doing it almost made it seem as if he was like I'm leaving on my terms. Like, are you committing suicide? Are you choosing to off yourself? Because there didn't seem to be it seemed like Tom King was trying to write this as a heroic sacrifice. While at the same time falling hollow in all of those points. That ring of sacrifice didn't come through, especially since he had it locked so that he didn't sacrifice it. Batman had to come in to find him dead. It wasn't he was buying them time. No, he locked himself in essentially, or at least where he was killed. And this was in Batman 77. So it was just very odd to me that would happen. Also, the fact that he referenced Bruce Wayne before trying to be Batman, apparently also trying to commit suicide, that was just very jarring. And this from someone who's read the run of Batman through King so far. And again, it just reminds me that this is not Batman. And that how would you go from, I'm done with this, to all of a sudden, no, I'm making my life's mission to, take out criminals and avenge my parents' death when I was just about to end my life earlier. It goes into a whole nother set of topics involving suicide and mental state and things that I do not feel qualified to go into. So I'm going to stop it right there. But I did find it jarring to see Tom King go into it in such the manner that he did. All in all, it was a very odd, confusing filler issue for me. I did not enjoy it. The artwork was fine. And there's something to be said for that, because it's been a varying quality the last couple of issues. And I guess there's something to be said. There was also a couple of beautiful splash pages that were really, really cool. Some not splash, two-page spreads that I really liked. And I think that was kind of the highlight of this book, which was really a quick read for me and not one that was enjoyable at all. It ends with Thomas Wayne asking Bruce, is he ready to give up? Bruce saying never, and they get ready to clash, as Bruce says, for Alfred, which he's like, one more time, father, for Alfred. So I guess we'll finally get the big fight next issue. I mean, at this point, King only has a couple more issues left to kind of actually get to what we're trying to get to. So I'm not really sure how much more further he can kick this rock down the road. But he's done a great job of it. I give this one 2 out of 5.
Oh, what did you feel about it, Jay?
I agree with a lot of what Corbin said. I thought that was it was pretty spot on, especially about the self-sacrifice thing. I was kind of like, what? So he is sacrificing himself so that Batman can win this. Is kind of what it made it seem like, and I don't know. My thoughts on that were kind of conflicting, but I do agree that Jordi Belair's colors are very great.
Yes.
And so just the writing alone, that those like Longfellow poems that Tom King quoted, I feel were really, really good at drawing out the emotion that he was trying to convey, because some of these panels, man, like Bruce Wayne waking up and realizing where he's at and what's going on, and his face changing from like grogginess to like surprise to sadness, to anger. It was just, I don't know, it was pretty cool. And some of the, there's this one panel where he's like holding Alfred and the tears are just like streaming down out of the bottom of his cowl. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is, I mean, I think he's a very good writer, and he conveyed that the emotion that very, very well. Because it hit me pretty hard, and there's been a few issues that Tom King has done. I don't know if you guys read the annual last year, where I think it was last year, where it had it basically had him, Bruce Wayne and Selina, where they're really old, and Bruce Wayne, I think he had cancer or something. It was like an alternate reality thing, but yeah. So it showed Catwoman. I don't know. It had like this little story of him, basically his last days, and Catwoman like leaving the hospital after he passed away and stuff. But oh my gosh, that's like one of the most heart-wrenching comics I think I've ever read. So that being said, I really enjoy Tom King's writing, but I also agree with Corbin. Is like, so Bruce or Alfred's been dead for what, 4 or 5 issues?
Yeah, going on 6 now.
And like you said, now he's finally realizing, and because everyone's been wondering, that's all from the moment that happened, all you keep thinking is, oh my gosh, where is everybody? Why doesn't anybody know? And then the next issue comes out, and you think, okay, they totally skipped over that, and finally we get this. So, like Corbin was saying, it kind of seems like a little, like too little, too late in a way.
Yeah.
But I mentioned to Corbin when we were messaging, we're like, so now Selina Kyle's like up and about, because last I saw, Bane smacked the hell out of her, and she hit this wall, and it looked like it was an injury that was not going to just, you can walk off.
You know what? In issue 86, we're going to find out finally that Selina was actually paralyzed or severely debilitated by that slap that happened in issue 83, because that's how King is. It'll be 4 or 5 issues later that the ramifications that actually come into play. So that we'll get there.
Yeah, well, because she was walking around pretty good just then, but that last scene with him walking into that room with Signal and Tim Drake, I mean, the whole family, the whole Bat family was sitting there. and they're about to score. Thomas Wayne and Bruce are about to square off finally. Was pretty intense, and so that was a pretty cool cliffhanger for me. So for me, I'd give this 3.5. I'd probably give it 4 out of 5.
Oh, okay. I mean, you know what? You made a great point, Jam. Before I know, Matt, you're about to get all in on this. I will say I've not been a fan of the use of poetry by King in the past, but it was especially poignant in this one. You're right. It did bring out, along with the colors, and just the artwork was just on point this issue. It really brought on the mood of this book. So I give you credit for that, because I totally had taken it for granted, because I'm used to dragging through poetry that just seems like he puts it in there to show us that, oh, Tom King knows poetry. Oh, Tom King knows poetry in there. So you're right.
Oh, no.
For this one, it was like, wow, this actually worked. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it worked on this, but I agree. I don't remember which book it was or which story, but I remember there was like this Russian poem that he put in there that was so bizarre, and I could not figure out the parallels or the symbolism of it. It just seemed like just total nonsense. And I'm sitting there reading it and looking at the panels. I'm like, this is so abstract. It's totally beyond my education,
And he does this a lot, especially on the Batman run. I mean, he wasn't doing this really too much with Vision and other works that I've read.
Not that
I get it. No, it seems like it's a sudden literary trope that he's picked up and just seems intent on hammering home. But that's enough on my take. A really good read on that, Jay.
All right. So let's get into this real quick. I loved this issue. I absolutely loved it. I think 4 out of 5 is probably a solid score, Jay. Because at the end of the day,
sorry, his bias is showing.
Hold on. I'll tell you why. At the end of the day, Tom King's run is over at what, issue 85, right?
I think so, yeah.
So that's 2 more issues. So I think he took the time to make this issue kind of his penultimate issue. In a way, this is his saying goodbye to the Batman character through Alfred. So he's kind of using the Alfred-Batman relationship to say goodbye to his time on the Batman book, because he knows that the next 2 issues are going to be the final confrontation between Thomas and Bruce Wayne. So he's kind of taking this lull to use Alfred to say his goodbye. I love the way he did it through a letter. And the way that you guys are kind of describing it is, it almost feels like the stuff that happened where Selena got bitch slapped and all that was before this, and they kind of moved Batman and Bruce Wayne into a staged area where he wakes up sitting at the table with a dead Alfred. And what you're seeing is his reaction to that, because of the way at the end Thomas Wayne sends Selena in and says he's ready for you now, and he wants to know if you're ready. And they have that final face down in the parlor with all the Bat family there. This feels very much like it was a staged thing by Thomas Wayne. And what I get from the what you were talking about, Corbin, the I will die here, I choose to die here, is Alfred says, I choose not to be an instrument of your downfall, but I choose to be your salvation. So he's saying, instead of letting him be a victim, instead of him being a victim and letting Bruce come save him and ultimately walk into a trap, he's choosing to take that bullet and die to allow Bruce the salvation to not be the victim and not have to fall into this trap. So he's saying he's taking this time to choose to be the bride instead of the bridesmaids. He doesn't want to be a damsel in distress anymore. He's choosing to go out like a hero and try to stop Bruce from coming to his aid, versus Bruce running in and falling into a trap and ultimately almost ending up in the same situation.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. I get what you're saying, but it also almost feels like a lack of faith from Alfred to Batman, because you're saying, oh, I'm tired of being, put in a compromised position where you have to keep saving me. So rather than force you to keep saving me, I'm going to make the sacrifice for you. An empty sacrifice at that, because it's going to continue anyways, as we all know. And also, that makes no sense. Alfred and Bruce's relationship is deep. It's almost as if Alfred's saying, I'm tired of this dance that we keep doing where I have to be rescued and I am that bridesmaid. So here I am putting it all out there for you. Like it almost backfires in a way in that sense.
It's like you got to look at it. The way I look at it is like a father to a son. And he's saying, listen, boy, I've watched you grow up. I've watched you with all this pain. I've watched you suffer. I've heard you cry. I've been there. Like the last happy I remember is when the last time you smiled. I don't want to take that away from you. I don't want you to live with this pain all your life. So I don't want to add another burden to you. So let me be the bearer of this burden. I'm choosing to take this burden for you, instead of allowing you to carry it for the rest of your life.
But see, it sucks because it ended up that way anyway.
That's what I was about to say. It's like ultimately
that was so sad.
And now he's the bearer of that because you just lost your father. You said it, Matt. He's been doing this from the beginning. And the fact that you're right, it was. Maybe I was too low on it. Now that you have brought out some points, Jay, and you've built upon that, Matt, I'm not to restructure my grade from a 2 to maybe a 2.5, maybe a 3.
That's a big jump. Hold on there, guys.
Okay. Because
You're tight, man.
Buckle down.
I've just not been a fan. I've really soured. I've read all of King's run. I've really soured on the last 30 issues. I've just there's too many of his tropes that have come into play. I don't like his Batman's over dependence on Catwoman throughout this. I don't like Catwoman being such a staple of the Batman title that they're linked in ways they've never been before. There's several more issues I have with that. So I've already been down this road with King, and it's kind of hard to bail out of it. So I'm already starting on like a negative curve when I grade his books. And I give myself that bias there that I'm not already leaping to, oh, hold on, let's give it a positive eye. Let's look at all the angles. Because I've already seen enough of King's BS in some of these Batman runs to be like, okay, I'm done with this. But in this one, maybe I looked at it too negatively, as you're bringing out. I just think that King's thinking of, Alfred's saying this, and Matt brought it about probably more eloquently than King, the guy who wrote the book, would say it. But in the sense of, I don't want to be this extra on you, so I'm therefore going to roundabout give you more pain and give you more of a gap by being the person who's going to be gone from your life so that you can have this traumatic experience where you wake up in a stage location, see me dead, and yes, you have the letter, so you know my mindset behind it, but guess what? I'm gone, and that's it. I mean, and to be fair, when I first finished Batman 77, I thought that was a stunt. They bring him back. It was an angle, yada, 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 something. So I didn't believe he was dead. And then,
I didn't either.
And then building upon these other books, therefore, even more so the fact that, they'll find a way to bring him back and we'll find it was all a mistake. It wasn't until the solicitations that said, the Pennyworth book that's coming out that I was like, oh, that was real. And then reading this one, it's like, oh, now King wants to address it. So I don't know. I think it's too much of those negative factors on my end that can't let me go that much higher. But I will say that I see a whole new perspective on it on a positive end now.
And he's trying to give him that feeling of that he's not alone and he doesn't have to do this alone and that he's loved. Like the last line before Catwoman enters the room is, "Goodbye, Master Bruce, and please always remember wherever you are and wherever you are, terror and whatever terror you confront, you were forever loved." So it's kind of like giving him that gratification that, look, you're not alone. You were loved. You're not going through this alone. And, I like I said, the way it's written and the way it's written from Alfred's perspective, it feels to me very much like a King's goodbye to this character, goodbye to his time on this character. He chose to use Alfred's death and the point of view from Alfred to do that and get that across. And now you're getting the final showdown, like that final page where Jay was talking about, and I'll hold it up right here if you guys can see it, where he's walking in, he's got cowl off. He's surrounded by the Bat family. As he gets closer, he puts the cowl on, and it's go time, and he's about to have that final confrontation. Now, where I struggle with this is where you struggle with it in many ways too, as far as King's writing goes, is it jumps around. So like you said, they killed Alfred in 77. And so then that you had back and forth. You saw a lot of like Batman trying to re-heal himself after Bane broke him again. and trying to put himself back together and coming, it jumps around. There's a lot of filler stuff that I don't know you necessarily need. But now it almost feels like we're going to get that again because you're getting that final confrontation. They're about to square off in the parlor. And the next issue is called The Secret History of Thomas Wayne. So it almost feels like it's about to jump off the main story again, and that it's going to conclude in his final issue. So I kind of feel like just the way it's written, like I said, I think he wrote this as his penultimate issue, even though it's not, but it's his goodbye to the character, and he's getting ready to move on and setting it up for James Tynion to take over at the beginning of the year.
That's excellent, man. Once again, I am so envious at the way you could take that. No, I totally agree. That's totally his goodbye letter to Batman. It totally is. Now you said that, I was like, yeah, of course it is. How could I not have seen that?
Just like I feel like Scott Snyder's goodbye to his Batman New 52 run was, I can't remember what issue it was, but it was the one where like the Batman's night off. It was one of his final issues. It was like a one-off, like end of the run issue, and I kind of felt like that was his goodbye to the character, as where I feel like this is King's goodbye to his time on the Batman character.
Yes, I totally agree. If I would have caught that early on, it probably would have made it more emotional. So, kind of glad I didn't.
So you give it a 4 out of 5 as well, Matt?
I give it a 4 out of 5.
Solid.
You know what? The only reason I don't go 4.5 out of 5, because I mean, listen, 5 out of 5, that's perfection. All right.
And this was not perfection.
This was not perfection. As good as it was not perfection. But the only reason I don't go 4.5 out of 5 is because of like what you said, the jumping around that King does, and how this isn't going to be looks like we're going to jump around again to come back in the final issue.
So you're saying that the last issue where Bane was, where Batman was about to break Bane's back and Thomas Wayne burst in and shot him, you're saying this is before that?
No, I'm saying this is after that, because they start that fight. So I think he shot him, and then he goes in, and this is staged. So I think this is him waking up from that gunshot, or from that shot. And he's staged. Yeah. He's playing a psychological game. It's staged because he's across the table from Alfred. And remember, Bane had him tied up in his hideout, and that's where he broke his neck. So it's like it's staged where he's, he brought him back and staged this to be across the table from him.
Yeah.
This is a psychological move to mess with him.
Yeah, that's good.
That was a really good breakdown, man. I gotta go with Jay. That was a great credit to that.
So I love comic book reviews.
Okay, see, there we are. Love it. All right, well, I mean, that was me. We swinging it back up to Jay?
Yeah, what do you got, Jay? What's your next book?
Okay, oh gosh, let's talk about Justice League. Have you guys read Justice League?
I do not.
I did not pick that up. No.
So it's more of the Perpetua, the goddess that from the whole post Dark Knight's Metal, and she's the mother of Monitor, Anti-Monitor. And anyway, so she goes and she sides with Legion of Doom, and she transforms Lex into like this using her powers into this being that is pretty much unbeatable. And so the book start, I mean, it's been this whole run with this Justice League versus the Legion of Doom. It's been like Legion of Doom has pretty much just been crushing Justice League, like left and right. They've always been a step ahead of them, and it's been kind of cool because right when you think you're like, okay, here's where it's gonna end, here's where Justice League is gonna prevail, nope, it's like it just gets slipped out from underneath them, or one of the Justice League does something stupid, and impulsive, and it ruins it for everybody. So it's kind of cool because, like, in the beginning of this book, it starts out with Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman talking about, it's just so it's really somber, and they're like, we're not going to win this, and they're all agreeing. They're like, yeah, we're screwed. So they all just kind of come out and talk to the rest of the Justice League, and they're kind of like, hey, we're gonna go down, but we're gonna go down swinging. And so that's when it like cuts over to the Legion of Doom and Perpetua, and she's kind of giving her speech to the Legion of Doom, saying, hey, and it's funny because Brainiac's like saying, I want all this knowledge, can you give this to me? And then she's like, oh, I got something in store way better for you. And gosh, who else? Yeah, everybody's like, I want this. I mean, everybody's asking her for things, and then she's like, no, I've got something way better for you. And so she starts out by turning like Brainiac like literally into her throne, and like everyone's like, what are you doing? And she like crushes him and twists him and makes him into a seat, and she like sits on it. And like Sinestro and Cheetah are like, we're screwed. And she like gets them and essentially turns them into like a battery to feed into Lex, and to give Lex more power. And so they're starting to think, well, all the villains are like, well, we got the short end. She promised us like ultimate power, and now she's just screwing us all over. She totally used us. And the Justice League, and basically the whole thing ends where the Legion of Doom comes to the Hall of Justice, and their ship is, like hovering over the Hall of Justice, and I don't know, this was kind of cheesy, but it was kind of cool too. The Hall of Justice turns into a ship also that the Justice League are in, and the book kind of ends that way, where like Perpetua and her army are like ready to invade, and Justice League, they're just going to be like this huge clash. So that's where that ends. And so in the last panel here is just Batman like gritting his teeth saying, now let's finish this. So, and then it just says next, haul out mayhem. Because of the Legion of
funny.
So that's, hopefully this comes to an end, because I'll be honest, like a lot of these issues with this Justice League Doom war have been, if they just would have cut this whole run in half, it probably would have been a lot more easy. It would have been easier to digest, but it's been dragged on for a long time. So that'll be nice to finally get that out of the way so that we can have new stories coming around. So for this issue, I'm gonna go ahead and 3.5 out of 5. Ooh. But because, like I said, it's if there weren't already issues like this in the Justice League Doom War, I would have probably given it a higher rating. But something tells me something else is going to come in the way, and it's not going to be the end yet, and it's just going to keep dragging out, because we've seen issues like this that ended in this exact same cliffhanger recently, where it's like, okay, it's going to be the last stand. It's going to be and it doesn't. So if I had more invested in the fact that I thought this was the next issue was going to be the long awaited final clash between those two groups, I'd probably be a little bit more excited. But I read that last panel, I'm like, oh yeah, we've seen that before.
We've been here.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
man.
that's my reason for the 3.5.
Nice. All right, well, I will go ahead and just quick talk about a book that didn't really, well, it came out last week. It was it came out on Saturday. It was part of the Support Your Local Comic Book Day group, and it actually came out a few years ago, and it was online only. You could only read it online, but it's actually kind of an oddity. It's a Walking Dead book, but it's not written by Robert Kirkman. It's written by Brian K. Vaughan, called The Alien.
Oh wow.
And what this is this was a one-off story that they did about Rick Grimes. I believe it takes place. I've been trying to pinpoint where it takes place. I believe it's Spain. Part of me wants to say Italy, but I believe it's Spain. And it follows Rick Grimes' little brother as the apocalypse is starting to hit, and he finds himself in a world of danger, and things are going south, and he's kind of being chased by zombies, and he gets help from a young woman who basically saves him and takes him in. And she's like, I have something. He's like, why did you save me? He's like, you got something I need. And she basically needs to use him to get to America. And she gets him to the pier where there's a boat, and they're going to get on a boat. And that's where he kind of reveals that he's got an older brother named Ricky, and he's got a nephew and all that. So it kind of leads up to the very end of the book, where you find out that it is Rick Grimes' brother. But they're getting ready to get on this boat, and they get attacked by a zombie that's on the boat, and it knocks the girl into the water. So Rick's brother jumps in to save her, and as he's going down to save her, there's another zombie at the bottom of the ocean already, and that zombie bites him on the ankle. And so it ends with him bleeding out. And the only color, I really like this, the only color that's in this book is his bite. It's the blood from his bite. And
Wow.
and he's pretty much telling her that, he's been bitten and she's going to have to kill him. And he says, if you ever get to Atlanta, please look up my brother, Rick, and tell him that I'm sorry. And she was like, what is his, how do I know his last name? And before she could ask that question, he kind of is looking at the skyline, and he's like, that's a beautiful view. And she turns around, and he's already changed, and she screams his name. His name's Jeff. She screams his name, but then you just see like a trail of blood in the water from where he had his ankle. So you assume he turns and she had to kill him. But it's a good one-off. It was a nice a palate cleanser for if you're missing The Walking Dead. It'll be interesting to see if maybe he's going to explore more in the Walking Dead universe and allow other writers to do it. Because I kind of got that hint from the comic shop owner. He's like, we've been hearing inklings that there's more to come from the Walking Dead universe, but it just might not be Robert Kirkman writing every issue and going different directions. So we'll see what happens. But I want to clear up some misconception about this book real quick that's kind of been going around online. It's been rumored that there was only 600 issues of this book printed. It's not true. And then it was also rumored that this book had the original print run of the very first issue of The Walking Dead. I don't think that's true either, because Skybound is now starting to sell it on their website. So there you go. If you think you're buying this book like I'm getting a deal and there's only 600 issues and it's going to be super awesome and rare, because it's been fluctuating all over the internet on price, it's not. There's plenty of them out there. You can probably still get each comic book store had a fat stack. You could probably still walk in your comic book shop tomorrow and pick up a copy of it. So don't be suckered into buying it because it's a limited print run, because it's not.
You turn around and sell it on eBay.
But it is the first time it's in print, though, so that's exciting in itself. But I figured I'd give it a nod real quick.
Cool.
It's cool.
Let's kind of switch gears and let's talk about a book I'm sure we all read, and it was the end to the month or summer long Donnie Cates Absolute Carnage series.
Yes.
It came to an end. You saw the final confrontation between Carnage and Eddie Brock. What you get? Whoever wants to jump in, go ahead and tell us a little bit about that story and how the issue ended out.
Corbin,
I mean, I have more of an opinion than a recap of the story.
Well, recap this issue real quick, and then give your opinion, Corbin.
Okay. Well, this was gonna make you guys a little upset here. I read it midway through, and I got tired of it. I couldn't finish it because I had too much influence by my friends that told me about it beforehand. That's where the opinion comes in. So basically, I mean, let me get my notes here because I actually put some up. 1 second.
Oh, this man comes prepared.
I had some notes here that I just have to kind of get through. I was gonna bring this up if we had time, but apparently we went straight to some moment here.
Well, Jay, while he's pulling up his notes, why don't you tell us a little bit about the issue?
Okay, so this was, like you were saying, the final Absolute Carnage issue that had, basically the return of Carnage and the final battle with Venom, and it. Okay, so I don't know. I thought it was pretty. I thought it was pretty good. I wish there would have been a little bit more of I don't know, like I guess of a cap to it all, but I did like. So are we spoiling this?
Yeah,
I guess it doesn't.
It's been a week.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if those lazy bastards wanted me to so I thought it was pretty good. I liked the all the heroes coming in at the end and kind of as like the as soon as everything looked really dark and you thought all of the symbiotes were just gonna totally overpower everybody. The heroes came and of course at the very end, Peter Parker, found the inner strength and managed to clobber, what's his face, Carnage, and yeah, I guess that's kind of where it ended. And then Eddie Brock at the end. Oh, and okay. There's the one thing I didn't remember is so Eddie Brock's kid is the one that kind of like knocks the crap out of Norman Osborn, knocks the symbiote out of him. And I don't know. I used to read Venom, but I stopped. So I don't know. Have they ever made any reference to Eddie Brock's son having any kind of power?
It just started in the Absolute Carnage stuff, I believe. You see it in some of the tie-ins. I'm still like, that's kind of where I was. I was like, what is his power? Like it doesn't distinguish his power. And I don't know if maybe he just has the power to have command over symbiotes versus it being a host. He can command them. I don't know, or he has the power to kill symbiotes. I don't know what his power is, and I've kind of been thinking about that and scratching my head about that since I read this book last week. I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. It's definitely. I mean, you see, like you said, you see him blow up the symbiote. You see the final confrontation between him and Eddie pretty much makes a sword out of his symbiote and stabs Carnage with it, killing him. But in doing so, he did what they've been trying to stop this entire time, which was releasing and calling the God Krull, and basically Carnage wins without winning. His plan still came to fruition, even though Eddie just killed him. But I think it's gonna it's setting up Kate's next story run, Venom Island. I think is what he's essentially doing.
And that's where I have to pipe. Okay, so I got this. This is where I shouldn't have bought too much in. I had a buddy I was talking to about this book, right? he was saying, "Oh, it's really just a setup for the next one." He didn't recommend me reading it. Well, you have to finish the story, so I picked it up. Right now, here's my thing: if we remember, Absolute Carnage #4, the last kind of scene we had was Venom, who had just grew wings, flying after a similarly winged Carnage. Right. So I'd imagine all of us thought we were gonna have a treat because the notes I had taken, we'd already had in this series symbiote dragons, we had a Venom Hulk, and we had a bunch of other whack stuff that already happened. So we think that it's going to be like a big giant clash, right?
Yeah.
Look at the book. No, the fight was anticlimactic. It wasn't anything really there. And I mean, that kind of kept in line with the arc that we've already seen from Eddie so far, which is that he didn't have to outmuscle Carnage because there was other ways for him to win this one. So the fact that he made this questionable sacrifice at best was odd to me. And mind you, this is about the time where I gotta kind of pull out because it's the extent of my reading, and I was actually gonna finish it after we're done. But I already knew where this led off. Haha, you got it. Anyway, but I realized that the story, the way it was going to me, it wasn't going to go to an ending. It was going to just stop, and the next one would happen. But the problem is you have to finish the first story to get to the next. So for me, I mean, I'm sure we're all veteran comic readers. Having been through the same type of book before, I was like, I'm not that invested in it to finish it, and that's why I feel bad. But my notes up to that point was that the illustrations, for one, the art was amazing depth, like just amazing. Ryan Stegman did a very good job conveying the mood, doing a great job of portraying Carnage. There was a point where he said, "You're going to lose the little boy," and the glee on Carnage's face was sickening. Like you could visibly see that.
His picture of Cletus Cassidy at the very beginning of the book is outstanding.
Yeah, it's some amazing work. Yeah, and that's one. Another one that I noted that I really liked was after Carnage presented Eddie with the choice between saving his son or the world, and the look on his face, the despair, all of that. The picture could say 1,000 words, and it felt like it did. It was palpable. The resentment, the anger, the fact that he knew he was going to do something terrible, and yet was so determined to do what he was going to continue on the line of action. So all of that, I mean, the series itself, in my opinion, has been outstanding. I will give it that. There's been plenty to like up to this point. I was not a fan of the conclusion, though, so much so that with a couple of pages, I just stopped. I didn't think it was going to be any sudden revelation because I could see where this was going. And based off what I've heard just now, there wasn't. I'm going to reread it just because
I think this page right here is absolutely beautiful.
It's amazing. Cool. I mean, you have to give Ryan Stegman, Donnie Cates did an amazing job, but Ryan Stegman, as a penciler, great job. Just a phenomenal job, really giving across not only emotion, but set pieces, everything. It was great. So, I mean, that's mine. I mean, if I was to grade the conclusion, not even sure if we're really doing that since it's more of a roundtable discussion, Matt. But, I mean, I gotta give it incomplete because I didn't finish it, but I didn't finish it because I figured it was going to be kind of an abrupt ending. I didn't want to have to go through that.
Well, I mean, it's your review of it. It's what you want to give it. It's what you think.
I mean, 4 out of 5, even with that.
Can we be, well, see, I was going to say, can we be honest with ourselves now and say that in the grand scheme of things, Donnie Cates, I'm a fan of his writing. He's a fantastic writer. The art was beautiful. But in the grand scheme of things, all the tie-ins for this book were unnecessary.
I had a feeling. I learned, I should have learned long ago about this, but I learned the hard way from War of the Realms. I'm done. I am done with all these tie-ins. I'm going to follow the core story, and if I don't get it, oh well. So I didn't pick up any of the tie-ins. A couple at the beginning, but
I think some of the tie-ins were pivotal, like the Venom tie-ins, the stuff that played out in Venom.
Well,
the stuff that played out in Amazing Spider-Man was good. And
the ongoing series that were tied into this were
giving us the Miles Morales stuff was kind of whatever. Like the Scream stuff was whatever. The stuff with Deadpool was whatever. It really didn't feel like it was needed. It didn't feel justified even in the ending of the story. It didn't feel like those tie-ins were necessary. It felt like it was just a cash grab at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah. So there was a Captain Marvel Absolute Carnage that came out last week. I
think overall, the core story, and I'm going to include the ongoing series tie-ins with this. I agree, 4 out of 5. But I think overall, with all the tie-ins included and the one-off tie-ins, I'm going to give it like a 3.5, if not a 2.5. Like well, I'd say between 3 to 3.5. I think is fair, just because I felt like it was an unnecessary cash grab, which extended this series and made it go months when it didn't need to go months and across every book that was what $5.99 a book, $4.99 a book, like
ain't cheap.
You know, it's, and I feel like like one of the things I'm going to talk about that I'm looking for tomorrow is the next issue of Venom comes out, and I kind of think that we're going to get a little bit more answers to the ending of this arc in Venom, because it leaves it on a cliffhanger. He's sitting there and his kid's like, "Did you say you're my dad?" So he went from thinking that it's his big brother to now knowing that it's his dad. So I think you're going to see a little bit play out there in the next issue of Venom, and we'll see where we go from there. But like I said, overall, the core book intact, 4 out of 5. But four out of 5. But if you're going to go overarching entire story, including tie-ins, it lowers the score.
Yeah, I'm just so sick of these big crossovers. I was like, man, we don't need this. You know, it used to be like a huge event when Marvel would have their big crossovers, their big, the like stories that cross over, into all the different issues. Now it's like we went from one to another to this, and there were some that were even parallel to this. It's like, man, what? I'm tired of it.
It's been a long time since a Marvel, well, even a DC event has had the payoff or been that huge, just earth-shattering event.
Yeah, that's actually lived up to it.
Because they're so ingrained to just every year we're gonna just reboot. We're just gonna reboot. So there's no. It feels like there's no. I don't know what the word I'm looking for. I don't want to say cause, but there's no
rhyme or reason.
Ramifications for the event.
There you go.
Ramifications to the event that's taking place, because it's an end of the event, so come January, February, they're going to reboot it anyways. So it's not going to matter.
And it's hard, anymore. And it's hard to invest in it when you're sitting there reading it and all this stuff happens. You're like, you're just spinning your wheels here, because all this stuff's just going to be reset in 6 months.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm willing to see how it plays out in Venom, but it feels very much like he used this end of this book to set up his next big event in Venom Island. So, but my other thing with Donnie Cates is I love his writing. He's a fantastic writer, but he's doing so much stuff now. I'm worried that his writing's going to get stale. I'm almost worried that he's going to get that Bendis burnout where his writing's going to become stale, because he's doing Carnage, he's doing Silver Surfer Black, he's doing all of his indie books for Image, he's doing now he's picking up Thor. So it's like he's got all these books that are going, and it makes me worried that maybe he's spreading himself a little bit thin, and his work is going to start becoming it's stale.
It's going to get Bendicitis.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, Donnie Cates has stuff on Aftershock too, doesn't he?
Oh,
isn't he still doing?
He's got stuff on Aftershock. He's got stuff on Image. He's got stuff pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
So he's I'm afraid he's going to get the Bendis or the Snyders, and his writing's going to be mediocre. It's gonna take a hit. I don't want to say mediocre because he's a fantastic writer, but it's going to take a hit.
Yeah.
Just like I think like personally, in my personal opinion, you might not agree with me, I feel like Snyder's writing has become stale and kind of lost its footing since he's left Batman.
Wow. I mean, I would agree with most of that. I feel there was a few standout issues here or there, but then again, I guess in reference to that, I can't call to mind. I just remember reading some after that Batman, but you're right. I mean, for the most part,
he can never capture that magic yet. Like, look
Last
at
Night on Earth.
Look at all. Well, Last Night on Earth is good, but I'm not going to judge it yet because it's not finished, and it scares me. Like, issue 1 and 2 came out 1 month from each other, and I love issue 1 and 2. But the fact that it's taken so many months for issue 3 to come out scares me.
That's true.
And this seems like such a complex story. He's trying to wrap it up in 3 issues. That worries me. Even if they are oversized issues, it worries me. And look at his work on All-Star Batman. Look what he did with Dark Knight Metal. Like, people liked Metal, but I thought it was mediocre at best.
Some people think Metal's a top 10 book.
Yeah, I disagree with that 100%. And you know that. I think the best thing to come out of Metal was giving the DC universe the Batman Who Laughs.
And even that's been overused enough, man. Jeez.
Yeah.
But I get you.
It's like Baby Yoda. Well, because it's DC's Baby Yoda. They're gonna milk that bitch for everything they can. You know.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
That's why he's in everything, and he's the main villain in the Villans.
Year of the Villain, yeah. Next year will be Year of the Batman Who Laughs.
Yeah. Next, you're gonna see a Batman Who Laughs animated movie, or
into the Batman Who Laughs. I don't know.
His own ongoing is inevitable.
Well, I've already had kind of his own. He had his own 5-issue miniseries or 6-issue miniseries, whatever it was, and then you've got what they're gonna do, the Batman Who Laughs like DC streaming live action show, or like what's next? He's gonna show up in Titans next season, like. Who knows what they're going to do with this character?
Oh, look out, Harley Quinn.
Yeah, right? So I just think that, like I said, I like Donnie Cates' writing. I just hope that he's not spreading himself too thin. But again, I think that Absolute Carnage falls short, much like most Marvel and DC big crossover event books have done lately. So, yeah,
I will agree with that for sure. Like I said, I just wish... we had all this time, invested in this. I would have at least liked to have, you see 5 out of 5 on a series, and you're like, okay, this is going to be the end. I can't wait to see how this all. But it didn't end, and in fact, the last page was, hey, check out the ending in these books. You're like, oh, come on. It's like, I don't know. You want it tied up a little bit better, and then you want to read about the repercussions in the ongoing stuff. Right. Like Amazing's already moved on.
Well, moved on to trash.
I knew that was coming, but I get what you mean.
I hated Amazing Spider-Man 34. We'll talk about it when we get to it, but I hated that issue. I put it down halfway through, and I'm like, I'm done.
Well, let's do that because I did the exact same thing and I have it in my hands right now.
All right, let's do it.
For one, okay, so I get that we already have, and this is unrelated to this, but they're already having a Marvel, and I'm on all of the issues for it, the 2099 event. Mm-hmm. Where they're not remaking the universe, they're kind of doing their own take on the 2099 universe, except making the 2099 universe that was originally done with Peter David and Stan Lee and them in the 90s. More 2019 relevant conscious. All that to say, it's kind of confusing right now for me. I'm reading Fantastic Four for 2099. I read the 2099 Alpha. I have to reread it again because it's really interesting. A lot of moving parts. But this one...
Well, let me give you some help with that. I've heard from a lot of people that you need to read Amazing Spider-Man before you read the 2099 Alpha, and it helps you clear things up.
Then that makes perfect sense. I read the Alpha from beginning to end already and most of Fantastic Four before I started reading Amazing Spider-Man 34, and I did not finish it. Not because I was tired of it or knew where I was going, but it just didn't hold my interest enough with the other books I had. I said, I'll just get to this another time. There's nothing here that really sparks any tremendous ramifications for me. It's like Spider-Man. It's like a Spider-Man team up, really.
Well, it's kind of the retelling of the 2099 universe, and they're redoing the Image because we're in the future now. This book came out, when they were only speculating on what the future was going to be. Well, we're there now, and so now they have to readjust it and speculate what the future will be from considering the technology and whatever we have now. So It's kind of like that retelling of Miguel O'Hara coming from the future to the past and trying to seek out Peter Parker and where Peter Parker was and all the stuff that's tying into it. And like I said, I just found it so boring. I got probably halfway through it and was like, you know what? I did the same thing you did. I was like, I've got other books here that I need to get to that are piquing my interest way more. I was like, I'm saving Marauders for the end. My last book to read is going to be Marauders. I was like, I got better books to read. I'm not finishing this. I'm out on Amazing Spider-Man for a while until this 2099 stuff is over. I'm out.
I really want to buy into it too.
See, I've never been a fan of the 2099 stuff, and so now that they're like redoing this again, I'm like, I seriously, I had the same idea that you guys did. I'm like, I don't like this, but I'm gonna power through it because I'm a man. Okay, that's what men do.
Oh, okay. So now you're
Soldier
calling.
on.
So our manhood is being called into question now.
Because we didn't finish an issue of a book.
You're reading a
That's
comic
good one.
book, but yeah, our manhood is being called
Oh,
into
man, I
issue
finished
because we
all
didn't finish the
32
comic book.
pages,
Hey,
man.
sorry. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes the truth hurts.
Yeah.
Okay, I will say this. I will give whatever credit I can. I liked the art by Patrick Gleason with the colors by Matthew Wilson, D. Cunniff, and Chris O'Halloran. Particularly what they did with Spider-Man 2099 and Doom. There was 2-page spread like it was. I loved the dark contrast, the colors, all of
that
it.
was cool.
It popped. And it was something I still look at even while not finishing the book. So I'll give credit to that. But everything else on this was so forgettable. I'm right there with you, Matt. I mean, I'm not going to drop out of it just because I want to be invested in the 2099 universe. That's, growing up with Spider-Man 2099 and reading Punisher 2099, all of that is really kind of in my head when I'm looking at these with such hope to want to have that same level of entertainment and inspiration and sense of what could be in the future and having good, compelling stories that tie into that. I'm not getting that right now, but I'm hopeful. And so that's why I'm still on that.
But I don't know why they're pushing the 2099 universe again. And the only thing I can get from it is it's a cash grab. It's a cash grab to get you ready for Into the Spider-Verse 2 because Miguel O'Hara is going to be a big important character in that story. So they're trying to refamiliarize the general people with Miguel O'Hara and Spider-Man 2099 and what he's all about.
Well, yeah, actually, at the end of the 2099 Alpha that I finished reading, Nick Lowe, the co-editor, actually had said basically it came from one of their writers, Matthew Rosenberg. They had their Marvel Comics Creative Summit, and he basically said, "Oh, well, you realize that 80 years from now it's 2099." And as a group, they went past that comment, then they drove back to it because, as you said, Matt, cash grab. So it's like they were looking for ideas. Rosenberg threw that out there, yeah, whatever. And then, but wait a second. So let's go back. And they're trying to say that it's an homage to the Stan Lees, the Paul Ryans, the Peter Davids, the Pat Ellis, all of those writers in the past who made that universe. But we all know what it's about. You kind of pretty much said it, Matt, because 80 years, I could see if it was 100 years or something. I don't see the relevance. But then again, like I said, I'm a sucker for the art for one. And I also loved the storyline growing up, as a kid reading this stuff. So for me, it's nostalgia that's really driving it home. But as a story, I'm not impressed at all. Not impressed.
That's good to hear because sometimes I'm like, am I missing something from not picking this up? But if it's all nostalgia, dude, then it wasn't never nostalgia. I mean, I was never into it when it was going on before. Yeah. So.
I mean, we still have Punisher, Conan, Ghost Rider, Venom, and Doom, their own individual issues come out. Only so far was the Amazing Spider-Man 33 and 34, Alpha 1, and Fantastic Four. So we still have a couple more, but this is not the great start that I was hoping for.
All I could say, Tim, Jay, it's like Tim in the chat just said, you think just because a guy reads some comics, he can't start some shit? You're gonna say just because you're a man, you powered through the book, huh?
That's right.
Shout out to Tim.
But so what would you give your 4? You just did it again too. 3 books and 1 review. I gotta bow down to your greatness, Corbin.
Oh wow! Listen, hey, I appreciate it, man. I'm just trying to be like you, man.
What's your score that you're gonna give it?
I gave Batman 83 3 out of 5. Did we finish with that?
I think it was 3.5 out of 5, maybe. I can't remember.
Yeah, I might have said 2.5. I'm embarrassed by that. I will say a 3.5 out of 5. In which case, I will give this one a 2.5. Because I just was not. I mean, the artwork was great, but so was the artwork for Batman 83. In Batman 83, we've already said so many good elements on their side. Where 2099 just felt like I was reading through a story. And one that, quite frankly, wasn't really important enough to hold my interest. So it wasn't great. And Patrick Gleason's artwork can only take me so far.
I got a book. You got a book, Jay, that I'm excited to hear about because it kind of piqued my interest, but I didn't pick it up. And that's He-Man and the Masters of the Multiverse.
Oh, well.
You didn't read it, did you?
I got through some of it.
Uh-oh.
And it was very kiddie, and I was very disappointed by that. So then I'm like you did with Spidey. I'm like, I have better books to read. I'm going to put this down for right now.
Hey, that's understandable.
So yeah, I didn't finish it. I don't know. It has some pretty cool art though. I'll give it that.
Art for the week has been a win, I will say. Even
Yes,
the books
absolutely.
we didn't like, we've liked the
Yeah,
art.
I think you're right. Yeah.
I'm excited for the Masters of the Universe Kevin Smith animated series. Like, super excited for
Oh,
The biggest fan you are.
that. Yeah. But-
really? You're into Masters of the Universe?
Yeah, I like He-Man. The
Oh
Masters of the
man, I
Universe.
love it. Love it.
But I mean, I didn't read the comics, but I used to collect the toys as a kid and watch the TV shows and the cartoons. And even though I enjoyed the Hanna-Barbera knockoff better. I can't ever remember what the hell it was called. They had the fucking like goo things that wiggled around, and they had the like rhinos that shot pellets out of their heads.
I don't know if I remember that.
I can't remember what it was called. I want to say Herculoids, but I don't think that's right.
I don't know.
I can't.
My He-Man knowledge is lacking, so I have no help for you there, buddy.
But yeah. So, anyways, all right. So, shall we move on to start getting into the realm of X-Men here? And I've only got 2 books left. What do you guys got?
I'm kind of right up there with you, and they kind of tied in with Excalibur and the Marauders.
Yeah, I'm about spent too. I got Star Wars number 75, but yeah, I'll pass that one over.
Well, what would just give us the highlight? Give us the real quick rundown.
Okay, it seems like it was wrapped up really fast, and it was just, I don't know if you guys remember me moaning about it last time, but so yeah, those rock people were on that planet, and the rebellion was going to blow it up, hoping the Imperial fleet would be next to it and take them all with them. So it turns out that the rebels ended up being stuck on that planet with the bombs about to go, with the charges about to go off. They're going to explode the planet, and it turns out that the whole planet was a giant rock monster, and all the rebels that were on there, Luke, Leia, Han, everybody managed to escape, and this giant rock monster took the explosives and literally spit them onto a Star Destroyer and exploded it. And Vader went surfing on a piece of debris into an Imperial shuttle, and that's how he got away. And it sounds like I'm making this crap up. Unfortunately, I wish I was.
And Kathleen Kennedy says that there's no goddamn Star Wars expanded universe to take out for movies. Give us some rock people planets. Let's go.
And then Vader surfed on a sea of magma on a rock. That was impressive. But
you know why? Because he understands the power of the dark side.
Rock Lobster is a P-52 song. Kyle, welcome to the chat.
So yeah, so that was the end of 75. And again, I was, because the whole thing, this arc was called like Journey to Hoth or something like that. So it was supposed to leave off like right when the rebellion, goes into Hoth, and right when Empire Strikes Back starts, but it didn't. Alas, you have to buy one more tie-in to see that small time frame. And that's another thing. Ching ching. Probably another $5-6 book you have to spend.
Emperor Mouse wants your money.
Heck yeah. Yes, he does.
All right. So, what would you give? What's your score on that book?
1.5 out of 5.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a record. We're only 2 episodes in, and we have a record low score.
I mean, to be
1.5
fair,
out of 5.
I was gonna be nice, and I started recapping. I mean, no, this sucks. It's trash.
own your truth. Own your truth, Jay. I'm with you, man. If it's trash, it's trash, right?
Hey, call it out, man.
All about it. So, I mean, I'm gonna attempt to continue the triumvirate here, if I may, real quick, Matt, and just unless you were you gonna run through one of the X titles?
No, I will save them both for the end since I think that's books we've all read. We can
So let's team up
cover
on that because I read the same, so I'll follow your lead on that.
All right, go ahead with what were you gonna lead into, Corbin.
Well, I mean, I was tying Excalibur and the Marauders, but really, I guess just focusing on Excalibur because I found that one to be very interesting. Excalibur 2, and basically, Betsy Braddock has taken the mantle of Captain Britain, and so her and the team are making their way to the lighthouse with hopes of setting up a gate and saving her brother Brian, and that's kind of where it's like, oh, what dangers may lie ahead, and the dangers end up being like a pack of weird, I want to say like seal people. It was very interesting.
I accumulated them to the people from the what is it, the deep or the trench they call it in
from Aquaman.
In Aquaman, yeah, that's exactly what I thought of when I was reading that.
That's kind of exact. That's exact same. Like they're on a ship, and all of a sudden they're attacked, and they're kind of fending off from them as they make it to the lighthouse. And I found it interesting. I mean, Beth Braddock is an interesting character in general. I thought she didn't seem to be too enamored with the idea of being Captain Britain. That was kind of interesting to me. Like, she definitely didn't seem to be fond of it, kept moving forward, a little stern as far as the character is concerned. One thing I did point out that I was not a fan of, made a note of this, was they were on the ship, and Rogue was in her flower type stage, like basically like frozen or kind of like in like floating.
I'm glad you brought that up. I want to talk about that in a minute once you're done, because I'm glad you brought that up. So go ahead. Okay.
So Gambit was in his he was taking offense at like the quips and jokes that were kind of going on as they were like swimming or like floating. And Rogue was in this state and he was obviously concerned, and that makes sense. But we got like a cringeworthy exchange between Jubilee and Kate that I just was not fond of at all. And it was about Rogue in her state apparently looking like a princess, and if anyone had tried kissing her yet. And it seemed like such an obvious forced nod to Marvel's parent company that I couldn't help but roll my eyes almost to the back of my head. I was like, really? I had to almost look like at the Disney stuff to see if there was any reference to that Rogue reference from the comics, because it was such an obvious nod, like oh, we're what is that word? We're obligated to put a Disney reference in this Marvel book. I did not like that line at all. I felt it was odd and forced. And also, what is this flower type stage that Rogue is in anyway? That's what I landed to Matt.
When did this happen? Like, I was like, man, I need to go back and reread issue 1 because I don't remember. I remember clearly issue 1. I don't remember her going into this flower stage.
I don't remember that either. But she got hurt when she tried to open that door.
Right, and is that when it happened? Because
but I don't remember this whole weird thing that they got going.
Yes, Tim. Betsy Braddock was previously Psylocke, and now Psylocke has separated. If you followed X-Men in the 90s, she took over the body of an Asian woman, an Asian assassin, and they've been kind of stuck together. But now with the forming of her code, they have separated. So Betsy Braddock is now Captain Britain, now that her brother's trapped, and the other I can't think of her name right now, took up the mantle of Psylocke. So yeah, they're two different people now. But yeah, I don't know what this is, and what's the deal with Apocalypse? Like,
no clue.
He's like this weird like sage magician, like just like I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what his play is.
I don't know if you're reading him.
You see him hugging that entity from the other island and one of the other books, and now he's like obsessed with Jubilee's baby, and Jubilee doesn't want to leave her baby with him, and he's like showing up when they're to fight battles, and Betsy Braddock's like, why are you here? I didn't ask you to come here. We don't need you, and he's like inserting himself in just weird places, and like it's weird. Like, Excalibur is interesting, and I'm gonna keep going, but it's just weird.
I like having that outside team kind of run adventures. That's cool. But you're right. It is not. You said it, it's weird. It's just weird.
It's like Gambit is annoyed that she's in this state, and like he's pissed off that they're making jokes about it, and he doesn't find it funny, and he says he's not going to leave her, he's going to stay by her and protect her, and like Jubilee wants to bring her kid because she's afraid Apocalypse is going to get him, and she had bad dreams about Apocalypse taking over her kid. It's just I'm not sure where this one's going. And I think that's what intrigues me about it, but it's definitely a step up from the previous issue. And I was kind of like wondering, when did Rogue become in this flower state? I was like, when the hell did this happen? Like, I remember her getting zapped when she tried to open that doorway, but I don't remember her going in like this cocoon of like Sleeping Beauty.
Again, Disney reference, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
No, I'm playing. It's just odd. The book was odd. If I was to give it a grade, what, 3 out of 5? I mean, that's average.
That's fair.
And that's kind of solid. Yeah.
But I want to talk about my pick of the week and my favorite book. My favorite book in this entire X-Men run right now, and that's Marauders. Marauders is quickly, I feel like, the best book in the series. I feel like it's outshines the X-Men main title. It's outshining every title so far, even in issue 2. Like, who knew Kitty? I mean, of course, Kitty Pryde's been a fan favorite. A lot of people love her, but like, she's got some star power in this new book, and just the way she's had this transformation, and she's like commanding this team. And the whole issue, I liked. It was kind of like a chess match between Emma Frost and Sebastian Shaw. And like, Emma Frost is trying to keep him at bay as Sebastian Shaw is trying to make a play for the Red Throne, and he wants to know who's going to be the Red King and sit on the Red Throne. And you kind of push comes to shove. So like, they set it up where Kitty's Marauder team attacks a boat and steals the shipment, but yet steals a shipment from a country who needs this cure for the sickness cure that the X-Men are giving out, but instead still delivers another shipment to that island. So it looks like they attacked them, but they're still receiving their shipment in the back end anyways. And Sebastian Shaw's like, I'm gonna, who's on the Red Throne? I need to know who's playing the Red Throne. And you come to find out at the end, Kitty Pryde walks in all red in her pirate getup with her tattoos on her knuckles, and she's like, Emma Frost is like, about that spot's already been occupied, and the last issue is Kitty Pryde walking in looking like a badass. So, I mean, this team is great. Bobby, Pyro, Kitty Pryde, Emma Frost. Like, I think the only thing that Storm, and Bishop, I think the only thing that makes this team better is if Nightcrawler was part of it, just because he's kind of got that pirate swashbuckling way. But
yeah, that's true, huh?
I just think that this was a fantastic read, and like I said, it's by far one of my favorite title in the X books. And just kind of like Kitty in that, and she walks in and just like I say, when she walks in with this confidence like a badass, I'm not lying. She walks in with the red coat and the sword and the X belt, pouring a glass of liquor, and she says, "I'm the Red Queen, bitch." Like, that's exactly what she says. "I'm the Red Queen, bitch." And
it was a very good one.
It was, and she's got her hold fast tattoos on her knuckles, and it's kind of like a fresh a rejuvenation and of the character, a much needed makeover for the Kitty Pryde character. And like I said, I'm super excited to see where this book goes in the future. And I love the art in it, and I love like the shot where Emma Frost goes diamond and Sebastian Shaw's got her, like, slams her up against the wall. I give Marauders a 4.5 out of 5. I can't give it a 5.
Oh, wow.
Because if it had a little Nightcrawler action in there, I'd give it a 5, but 4.5 out of 5. So
yeah, I agree, man. I thought it was really entertaining. It's fun, and it's like you said, it reimagines, or not reimagines, but it kind of revamps Kitty Pryde as kind of like she led the X-Men for a while in Uncanny, but she's the leader of this group, and I guess now she's the Red Queen. The thing that's kind of weird though, that I can't help thinking every time there's something like this going on with the main chairs in the Krakoa like government, is this whole thing's probably going to come crashing down. I mean, Sebastian Shaw is one of the guys has the main is one of the main like the heads of that governing board, and he's already screwing around taking shipments and pocketing money on his own, and he's already doing his back end deals and stuff. I'm like, man,
right?
When is this whole thing going to? And apparently, like you were saying in Excalibur, Apocalypse is kind of doing his creeping around, doing his thing in the shadows. It's like it's not going to last.
Well,
this whole
I didn't want to say it last week, but now it's been 2 weeks since this has happened, or even longer than that. X-Force #1 with the death of Xavier, that has shaken up the hierarchy in Krakoa. You have, why are you flipping me off, Corbin?
Oh no, I had my one finger up. No, I was agreeing with you because I think you were referencing Kitty Pryde, and I think her whole personality, this assertiveness, this confidence, this way that she's carrying herself now, is a direct effect or a direct result from that death of Xavier. And I like the way that of all the characters they could have done that with, Kitty's transformation, personality-wise, due to the death of a mentor in Xavier, makes the most sense. So another reason why it's a good one.
Yeah, and like you said, they're all kind of jockeying for that position that is vacant, that head of the table that's left vacant by Xavier, because even Magneto's got his own goings on in the background. So it's interesting to watch all of these in Sinister too. So it's interesting to see where it goes from here. Kyle's over here trolling us in the chat. Is this Couch Crunchers? No, it is not Couch Crunchers.
Don't be a coward, Kyle. Come on. I tell you, they can't fact check us no-name actors.
Bishop to B5. He's just giving us no-name actors. Star Wars. Definitely a character study. Dark and ominous, possibly a character study. He's just trolling in the chat.
Wow.
But
wow.
That's all the books. That's all the books I have for this week. Marauders, 4.5 out of 5. What do you think, Corbin?
I kind of have to go with you. I was going to give it a 4 out of 5. Really enjoyed it. Thought the artwork was amazing. Liked the storytelling and the progression in an actual tangible sense of a story plot being moved along, which is always exciting for me as a reader to tune in every week. So I'm right there with you. I won't give it a 4.5 out of 5 only because I think there's some books in my head that would reach a higher echelon for me there. It could have used a Nightcrawler too. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, 4 to 5 is solid for me. I'd give it that. Definitely right there with you as far as the pick of the week.
Jay?
Yeah, I would agree. 4 to 5. It would have been 4.5 if we had more Lockheed. But
Lockheed.
There you go. That's when that works, especially with Kitty.
Yeah.
I mean, you got good Lockheed, and you even got good action Lockheed, where he's feeding Pyro's flames.
Oh, was that in this issue?
Was it this issue, or am I thinking of a different? Or was
I think
that? No, that
of
was
a different
Excalibur.
one.
I think that was an Excalibur.
Yeah.
He did that in Excalibur.
Oh no, it is. It
it?
is. It's okay. Yeah. No, you're right.
I remember the dragon coming. I don't remember the flames, but wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. No, it was good. And Corbin, you hit on something. It does have really good pace, for sure. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of dead spots or it was good flow, good art.
Definitely.
Good characters.
I think a lot of Kitty Pryde's new attitude takes place to the fact that she can't go through the portal. Don't forget, she still can't go through the gates to Krakoa. So there's a reason why she can't. And I think it's this new attitude of she doesn't know who she is, so she can be whatever she wants. So she's just like, screw it. She takes this hardcore attitude, and she's kind of been the savior in multiple issues. Her Marauders have shown up and kind of saved the day. So I'm super excited for what's still to come. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But all right, let's get into our show where part of our show where we're looking forward. We tell you what books we're looking forward to that come out tomorrow. So that way, if you took interest in any of the books we read tonight or reviewed tonight, you can go pick those up at your local shop while you're picking up new recommendations for tomorrow. Why don't we go ahead and kick it off with Corbin? What you got coming out tomorrow that you are looking forward to?
Honestly, it's time for Tales of the Dark Multiverse. Really big on that. It should be the Infinite Crisis one. That's taken all. I know it's not your traditional weekly kind of pull, but that's been one I'm very much looking forward to. And then it's almost as much as I am for the next one after, which is the Judas Contract. So I'm anxious to get my hands on that. Aside from that, yikes! I mean, it's my slow week. I mean, this is my big week. So I have my Batman titles, I have my 2099. So I can't remember what's really on my next one. Probably another rotating Spider-Man title and whatever I pick up at the shop when I go tomorrow. So that's kind of that. My big one is definitely Tales of the Dark Multiverse. It's been a great series, everyone. Like a really, really good one. I can't recommend it enough. And I really can't wait for their interpretation on a story that was already kind of dark to begin with, and see where they go with this, with the Blue Beetle apparently being a really key character in this one. So can't recommend it enough. And then also when they've been putting out these the Tales of the Dark Multiverse one-shots, they've also been putting out the dollar facsimile comics of the original storyline. So definitely make sure you pick up one of those too, because why not? They're cheap, and I mean, it's a great story. You already know what you're getting.
Jay, what do you got coming out tomorrow?
Well, one thing that I'm kind of excited about is a book that Image is putting out called Philadelphia.
That's on my radar as well.
Yeah, it's about a detective whose father, who's also a detective, and apparently he's a very renowned police officer, and this guy's father was murdered, and he goes back to his hometown to solve his father's murder. But when he's there, he finds out there's this, apparently there's corruption, there's all sorts of things. But the thing that really had me, vampires. I'm in. That's all I needed. I'm in on the vampire scene.
Say the word and you're sold.
Heck yeah. So yeah, Philadelphia looks pretty cool. Basketful of Heads #2 comes out next week. Tomorrow. John Constantine Hellblazer #1. Hey, I'm willing to give it another go. The Hellblazer reboot was not so good, but I believe this John Constantine Hellblazer is coming out on the Black Label, on DC's Black Label. So hopefully that'll make it better. Marvel, Fallen Angels and New Mutants #2. Oh gosh, so it's Fallen Angels, New Mutants, and X-Force #2 are all coming out next week. Mm-hmm. So I will definitely be on that. Yeah, that's about it for me.
So I'm looking forward to, again, Philadelphia, like you hit on. That's my oddball pick of the week. If you're looking for something different, Philadelphia is definitely on my radar. As far as Marvel goes, you got Conan 2099 #1, Fallen Angels #2, New Mutants #2, Punisher 2999 #1, the Scream Curse of Carnage #1, if you want to keep going with that, Venom #20, X-Force #2. As far as DC goes, you got Batman Beyond 38, Detective Comics 1016. So that continues your Freeze tale, right, Corbin?
Yep, you're right. Oh man,
you got
that's gonna be interesting.
Tales from the Dark Multiverse, like Corbin said, Infinite Crisis.
Yes.
And then Supergirl Annual #1 is a big one, as Corbin alluded to earlier. It's your first in-depth look at the Supergirl who laughs, the infected Supergirl. So that's one to watch out for as well. So that's right, Kyle. I do have a radar.
Wow. Funny. We're there.
Do you guys have anything else you want to cover? Any other bright spots you want to make people aware of as far as what to look for, what to pick up?
One more thing. Oh, sorry, Corbin, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, it is just a random topic. If you're into the Black Friday, but you're a comic fan, there's several comic stores in the Valley that'll be doing their own Black Friday sales. Cheap books, whole bunch of reduced prices on sets and trades and everything. So definitely keep your eyes out for that. And just ask your comic shop owner if they have anything planned, and then definitely look around, because there's more than a couple in the Valley that have some big event for really cheap comics and a quick way to stock up at a low price this weekend.
Cool. One thing I wanted to touch on real quick, book that came out a couple weeks ago. The other title on Joe Hill House Comics, it's put out by DC, is Dollhouse Family. I bought it because it was Hill House, and I really didn't know what to expect at all. But it turns out it's really, really creepy, and it's really cool. So whole thing just had to do with this little girl got this antique dollhouse in the mail from a distant relative, and it had dolls inside. And turns out that the dolls are alive, and the little girl's able to go into the dollhouse and live with the family that's in the dollhouse, because her life, the little girl's life, it's really crummy. Like, her mother has this really abusive boyfriend, and it's just horrible. And anyway, so the little girl, when she's in the dollhouse with her little dollhouse family, saying, "Oh yeah, I don't like it with my my mom's boyfriend, and he's rough." And then one of the dolls goes, "Maybe he ought to visit the black room." And then she goes, "What's the black room?" And the little doll goes, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said anything about that to you. You're kind of young." And so that's what it's kind of left off. And like, so they're gonna stick this guy into this thing called the black room, and who knows what it is, but I guarantee it's probably gonna be pretty creepy, because it was a pretty cool book. It's very well written.
I'm about to check that out.
It's good.
Yeah, the Hill House comics have been intriguing.
Yeah. It kind of gave me like a Coraline vibe.
Ooh. Okay.
Oh.
Interesting. Anything else, Corbin? You good?
That's it for me, man. What a show.
All right. Guys, I want to thank you for taking this trip with us on Tales from the Spinner Rack issue 2. We had a lot of great reviews tonight, a lot of great books. I want to encourage you guys to make sure that you subscribe to everyone who's a part of this show and makes this show happen. Subscribe to Absolute Geek Podcast, Couch Crunchers, Grizzle Geek, Audio Ammunition, and Comic Book Exposure. But for this week's episode of Tales from the Spinner Rack, I am Matt.
I'm Jay.
Corbin the Comic Barbarian.
Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to hit that like button if you had a great time tonight and you enjoyed our reviews. As always, support your local comic shop. Keep them bagged and boarded. And we'll see you guys next time.